I'm just going to swap my headphones around. Thought they didn't feel right. I had right ear on my left ear and left ear on my right ear.
I was stuck behind you, was I?
Yeah, you were. It felt really sounded and felt weird. All sorted now.
Okay, well there's no Jason, so just you, Gary, tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Ian. I'm glad I'm back and all in one piece. I've been let out with the garage by the home automation system.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, it kept you locked in there, didn't it? We're sorry, Gary. We can't do that, Gary.
Yeah. No, in reality, I wasn't very well last week, so it probably would have been a good job if my system had locked me out from the show.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Unfortunately, Jason's not with us tonight because he's busy paying his bills, which is very annoying when you have real world work to get in front of do podcasts.
Yeah,
but sometimes happens.
It sometimes does happen, but there we go.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I could be here this week and talk about everything which is happening.
Yes, well, we're getting close to the release of the anniversary update, so we can talk about that. We've had some new apps launch for Windows 10, these universal apps. We've had some new builds of different services. Yeah, and we're getting close to that release stage of Windows 10 anniversary update, which I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the build announcement as we're recording. If it's not as we're recording, then it's going to be pretty soon afterwards, I would have thought.
Well, I actually took the plunge and upgraded my phone to the fast ring this week because I thought we're getting so close. I have to say, I haven't been that impressed. So we can maybe talk about that.
Well, let's start on that then. So you've put your phone on, what was it? 14385, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So there's various things I do with my phone. In the morning, I wake up, I look at the news on the BBC News site, I check the weather, I might check the sports and have news on the things, and then check the email and things like that. So first thing, I go into the BBC News site on mobile, and it looks terrible on Edge compared to what it looked before I did the update.
Right.
So I don't know if this is just because of what I've updated from in some way, or it's not screen scaling, it's scaling, because I've tried various different screen scales to see what it looks like, depending on that, and that doesn't seem to have made any difference whatsoever. So I've tried.
I'm going to load it up on here then, so you see if I can see the same thing as you. So I did try this the other week when you mentioned something about it. So
yeah, so this I'd actually had reports from people that the BBC News site wasn't being formatted correctly, but it looked fine on my older version of Windows, so I didn't really see it as an issue. But obviously, I've certainly. So I've got it adjusted at. I had it on 400, which was recommended. I pushed it down to 350 just to see if that, and I also tried 300%, which is the lowest you can do on the 950. And in all cases, the text is huge, particularly on the mobile version of the site. So you get things like the menu button, things which actually on the old version or pre this fast ring update would appear across the bottom of the screen quite neatly. You could tap them. They're now massive, and you so instead of getting 8 across the bottom of the screen, you only get 2 across the screen, and then it all goes down.
So if I tap the menu button now, let's see if I can do it on mine. So I might look at first glance, it looks fine. Oh, it's just back.
Yeah, let's see if I can get you up on the live feed so I can actually see what you're seeing.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got that open there, and I've got the menu bar across the top. It says news, sport, weather, more.
So is your menu button, because as I say, so you're on an i50 XL, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it will format slightly differently anyway, because the screen's slightly different density. But let me just see. Yeah. So there's
a bit of a lag. So, but I've got it on there. I think you've muted yourself. Oh, you dropped the call. Let's try and get Gary back. Seem to have lost Gary there. You're back.
I'm back. Yes.
Yes.
Random reboot.
I thought you muted yourself somehow.
No. I went to review your video and it rebooted. It's the first random reboot I've had on desktop for ages. Yeah, it's a bit odd.
So did you get to see what I was holding up at the time?
No, I was just going to go try and back and see it now. It's a bit obviously that might cause it to reboot again. So let's
see.
Let's see if it does. But it looked different. What I did see did look different to what I'm seeing. So let's see if I can get this to play. I'll mute that.
I think there should be enough of a lag for you to see it.
Let's go back a bit. See how far I need to go back to actually see you.
I've got it on real time now. So
I'm trying to get. I can't get real time on the stream. That's there we go. That looks like the desktop variant of it, doesn't it? But and that looks very different to what I'm seeing.
So if I go to settings and try and there's a setting, isn't there, to get the desktop version or whatever? It's on mobile version.
It's on the mobile version. So on mine, I don't know if I can send through a screenshot of mine just so you can see. But on mine, I get the top bar where you've got the BBC showing the top, and you've then got the icon, the two sort of people icons beside that, the black surrounded one and the white surrounded one. They're actually showing on top of each other.
Right.
It's like a double bar height, and then you get and the whole of that top bar is a double bar height rather than formatted properly. And the text and menu is huge.
Yeah, so it looks like no matter what I do, this is fine on here. So it is a scaling something to the device then, I guess.
Yeah, but I can't. So what scaling are you actually running on?
Everything's on the default. So
what, 450, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, so it's quite weird, and a lot of the text overlaps as well, and the text is huge everywhere. The other thing I noticed today, it's not just on the BBC site, it's on things like Amazon as well. So I was looking at the Amazon.
I'm on 350 recommended. It's
350. So that's actually what I'm running on at the moment as well. Though it's normally on 400 recommended on. But So I'm running on exactly the same scaling as you are, and yet I'm getting a different rendering. And it's I mean, yours looks fine. I'd be quite happy with what you've got there. So so it's a bit
but this has crept in since the last build. It's not something that's been there from the beginning.
Well, I wasn't actually on the fast ring up until
of course, right.
So I was only on the preview build. So basically what people get in just before release. So I've always shot on quite a few builds, and I'm told from people I've spoken to today that this been for certain people it's showing up since about 3 or 4 builds back.
Right.
But it's actually making some sites unusable. I couldn't use the Amazon site today. to actually click through to things, because of the overlapping text, it was actually overlapping one offer on top of another.
Yeah, so it must be some bug within the scaling setup somewhere.
Yeah. So what I do, I mean, and it's definitely Edge, because if I go to Opera, it formats perfectly, and it's fine. So, and I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. But it's annoying. It's so gone retrograde compared to what it was previously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking now on the Nexus 6P, and it's identical to.
Yeah, which is, and that's what I'd expect to see, but it's not what I am seeing. I was just trying to take a screenshot, which didn't want to work. So let me try again. I'll send it through as a screenshot, and you can see what I see, which is somewhat different to what you're seeing. So where we got? So so it's mainly the text sizes and the scaling features, but of it.
Yeah.
That's that one, isn't it? I can never remember what the screenshot button is now on that.
It's it's power and volume down, isn't it? Or is that the feedback?
No, that's feedback.
Power and volume up.
Yeah, which doesn't always seem to work.
No, I have great difficulty with that sometimes.
That's it, got it. So if it didn't take the screenshot of the bit I actually wanted to take, but there we go. That was good. It clicked through to one of the screens. Let's try that again, and then I'll try and send it through to you. But yeah, but generally that's the problem. But the other thing I've found since moving over is none of the Bing sites are working for me. Bing apps are working for me. I can't get to Bing News or Weather. They just close immediately, and that's with the updates as well. There's a couple of store updates, so I assume they're working for you.
Yes, I don't think. Like the news one, you mean, like the news app? And things.
Yeah, the news app.
Yeah, they'll work fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just immediately close for me, even despite having had the update.
Yeah, I wonder whether that's. So I wonder if that's just the upgrade process that's gone wrong, and you'll have to do a reset.
Yeah, because you always did a clean reset on yours, didn't you?
I did, yeah, generally, not always, and I haven't done for a while, but yeah, I have done a few times.
Yeah, so. I'm beginning to wonder that way, because at the moment it's for what I want to use it for, it's becoming very frustrating, which is, and I can't. I mean, generally, the thing I have noticed is the battery life has gone astronomically up compared to what it was like before. I was getting just over probably about 26 hours maximum usage. And I've been running. I charged this on. I upgraded it on Friday, charged it Saturday morning. I haven't charged it since, and it's still on about quarter power.
Which has pretty much been my experiences until I got to this build, and this build is draining quite a bit.
All right,
this is on 38% now, and it's been off charge since about 7 a.m. this morning, and I've even got a little program that's got graphs on there, and if I have a look at, I can scroll back in time and have a look to last week, and you can see that it hardly ever dropped below 50%. So something is definitely draining the battery more, and I haven't done a great deal with it today. It's just I've used it a few times, but there's quite a bit of drain on there compared to yesterday. In fact, it's probably double the amount of drain of yesterday. So I haven't restarted it. So to be fair, I'll restart it, put it on charge tonight, and then we'll see. Yeah. But I did get a comment from a reader saying that they noticed battery life had decreased in this last build, and I said, "Oh, nothing. I can't see any difference." But actually, it looks like I might be able to see.
It might be a usage pattern thing, because they had that thing about it increased for people who glance at their screen by switching the button on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I do that quite a lot, because I just want to see what the next appointment is, and stuff. And I know I can see it on the glance screen, but sometimes the glance screen's turned itself off, and it's easier to press the button and try and wave your hand to get it. So I think that might be one of the things, because I do that. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I don't, and also it does seem faster as well. Loading up certain screens, and mail comes up a lot quicker, which is the one good thing about it.
Yeah.
So there's swings and roundabouts, but at the moment, the browsing bit of it is making it very difficult for me to actually use it. Let me see if I can share this image with you. I've just taken. I did finally get the screenshot to work. not the easiest thing in the world today, but yeah. So I think it's what puzzles me, I think, more than anything else on these is that it's different for different people.
Yeah, I think that you're right, and that must be really difficult to track down issues.
Oh, very. I mean, I can't even understand, can't even work out how you'd do so. I suppose you have got the telemetry, which is the good thing. They have got that telemetry now that they can um, look at things. So I've just emailed you this to your digital lifestyle
Okay.
account. So hopefully you'll see it at some point. It sometimes takes a while for mail to
It'll
come
come up
through.
on one of my many devices for notification.
Yeah, and you can have a look and see how it differs from yours.
Yeah.
But it's not everybody, because I tweeted out about this earlier today, and I got a few comments from people saying it's perfectly fine on my 950.
Yeah.
So it's very, and I know they've got telemetry, but unless people are feeding back on this, it's going to be tricky to work out how it's done. But I mean, I think they're moving in the right direction, but it is, for me at the moment, it's not as usable as it was previously.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because I've been finding up until maybe this battery issue that that I'm going to do a reset to make sure. I've been finding these builds recently, ever since we had that battery issue, a few months ago. There you go, your emails come through. I've been finding this rock solid and had no issues at all.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that these builds have been really good. And what I have noticed is that when I go back and look at older builds, or the release preview, the release candidate, then yeah, it's just not as nice, and you can see how well they've progressed with it, especially on the notifications front. So I've got that image through now, and all my devices are buzzing now currently. So I can show it to the video feed, so you can see it's quite a difference, really. The text, the headlines are larger, and the text is squashed up, and then like you said, that menu is nothing like what it looks on mine.
So it's really weird. I've submitted this to the feedback app, obviously, with the screenshots, so people can see, so they can see what's happening.
Both side by side on there, you can see the difference. It's much squashed.
Mm-hmm. It does look like font's scaling incorrect. Yeah, and we're on the same scaling size.
Yeah, which is really weird, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing, though, really, where I've not seen any issues with so far, and everything's fine on mine. And then, it rolls out, and then you start to get people complaining about screen scaling. Effectively. So I can understand why.
Yeah, it's
So that's on the mobile side. So I suspect we'll get a new build anyway, and whether that'll fix your problem, I don't know. Hopefully it'll sort the battery life issue, because that's all been working so well recently.
Yeah.
So what about the PC side? How are you finding that?
So other than that random crash I just had, it's been rock solid for me. I've really enjoyed the PC side. I know we lost the messaging everywhere, which is a shame. But you still get the notifications of texts and the notification of missed calls, which is the bit I was most amused with. And you can reply to text. You just can't start a text. And I did see there's a new Skype release due soon. That might have some of these features in anyway, because they were talking about putting SMS in Skype, which would be, I guess, is what that is. I mean, I know there's this huge argument about, is Skype the right platform to put it in, and etc., etc. And you can certainly see the internal politics at play here on that one.
Yeah.
But but other than that, the desktop one has been really solid for me. Everything's working. I've not had anything fail. The news apps work, and for what I use it for, it's been brilliant. So yeah,
I'm the same as you. I found it absolutely rock solid. Everything seems to be working okay. The only issue I've got so far is that it insists on trying to install a January firmware update for the Surface. And I just thought it was a quirk of my system, but it turns out it isn't. Bob Bowen saw my tweet, which included that picture. I wasn't specifically mentioning that, and that is a known issue. It's not necessarily a Surface issue. It's a problem with the Redstone 2 builds and the Surface. And if you go on the feedback hub, there's a lot of people reporting this. There was probably about 100 feedback items about that. So what it tries to do, if I go and check now, it's probably fine actually now. But after this build, the next build is installed, it will try and install the January firmware, and it might even try and install that January firmware again today. So So it's not showing up on the update now, but I've probably installed this January firmware about 50 times now, at least. So there's definitely something wrong in it. Like I said, I thought it was just a quirk and it was me, but it isn't, and it's a known issue. And I know one other thing I've noticed as well is on my Encore 8, it insists on rolling back the network, it's using the different version of the network driver and the sound drivers.
Yeah, I got that on the links. It actually wouldn't give me any sound, which was
exactly.
So I had to get the driver back again.
Yeah, and
which is a pain. And those things happen. And again, I've reported that on the Insider because I think that's needs to be.
And it's like, for example, on the Encore 8, it's the network driver.
Yeah.
And it just won't connect to any networks. But if you go in and manually change it to an earlier build version, it's fine. And I get the same with the sound. There's 2 drivers you've got to reset for the sound.
Yeah.
And once you've got used to it, it's fine. But it's a bit.
Well, I can imagine them getting lots of support calls on that. That's the sort of thing which will really throw people. So,
but this has been an issue ever since, I think it was before the November update last year. So it has been a problem that every build I have to reset these 3 drivers. But I've sort of got used to it. But I can see it catching people out when they get this. Although I suppose they're probably used to it from the November update.
Yes, and I guess that's where we come in to help people out who sort of the insiders have been using this and had these experiences. We'll be able to, that's, if someone says about it, you're just, that's easy, sorted, whatever, just roll back or whatever. So,
yeah, I think I did put that in the Microsoft Answers forum about the network driver.
Yeah.
But apart from that, the builds are working really well on it and there's some nice features, and I've just about finished my article on what's new in the anniversary update that I've got ready to post at the end of July. And when you actually go through all the changes, they're all fairly subtle, but they're very useful. And
yeah, I mean, so the desktop size, I've gotten absolutely no qualms. Highly recommending people upgrade. I think it's a much better product. Yeah,
it absolutely is. Yeah, things just feel more polished.
Yeah,
and it's funny, as I've been testing this Surface Pro 4, which is on the release version, so it's got the November update on it. You can really see the differences, and I definitely been a preference to use the Surface Pro 3 running the anniversary update, even though the Surface Pro 4 has got a better performance. I prefer the anniversary update. Oh, we lost you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
No, that was weird. I when I was speaking, I was getting a burble in my ear. It was really weird. So I was just saying, for the Surface, the inking side of it is such a leap forward.
Yes, it is. It's much better. Yeah.
I mean, it's chalk and cheese compared to what it was like before. So I actually got a chance to play with that the other day, and I was really impressed. It actually almost made me want to buy a Surface.
Yeah, I found the only thing I can't seem to work out is how to do the map stuff that they demonstrate in quite a few of the videos. You know, when you can draw a path with your map with the pen, and I've never been able to get that to work. So I don't know whether that's me or whatever. But anyway, the other stuff is good. The Windows inking is good. I just like the new start menu, the new notifications, and the whole thing is a much more polished experience. And for most people, they won't have the choice anyway, but to have that update. It's interesting when I look up the stats as well. TDL, there's still quite a few people using the. I think it's, well, say quite a few people. It's probably about 10% of Windows 10 users using the 102.40, the July release version.
Right.
So I'm not sure how they can do that. I guess they must be on the long-term servicing branch then.
I guess so. Yeah, that's about the only thing which makes sense.
Yeah, because you can't not have the update, can you?
No.
You can't even block it or anything. So. No. So with this anniversary on that, will bring down all the new features. I think they've done a good job with the anniversary update. And of course, we'll all be, as soon as we get that one anyway, we'll be wanting the Redstone 2 builds. and that's the other thing we should talk about. Well, is the builds. We've had new builds this week. So since Jason and I talked last week, we had, let's see, 14383 for PC and mobile.
Yep.
Which was the first build that didn't include the watermark.
Indeed.
which is normally the sign that it's the release version or the version that was going out to customers. But
yeah, but that was before Dada.
yes, and Microsoft specifically called out the fact that there will be more builds.
Yeah, I mean, with the dollar effects, that this hustle force is definitely affecting all of the builds.
Yeah. So this build also introduced the store for the extensions, and where you can go directly to the store. I think that worked quite well. I like that.
It does. Yeah, that looks, and the fact we're getting some few more extensions in and things. It was weird to have an Evernote one with all their announcements on cutting back on things, but
yeah, actually, we haven't talk about that. We can talk about that now as an interlude. But anybody that's been a long-term listener will remember that I started with OneNote. I used to use it for the show notes and OneNote on a USB drive.
Yeah.
And used to carry the USB drive around with me, and then eventually switched to Evernote as the cloud solution. Switched back to OneNote, and it looks like Evernote is not really going to be as good as an option for many listeners.
No, because they're basically cutting back the amount of devices you can actually use it on. And also, so I forget the full restrictions, but it seemed basically making it not a very usable product unless you paid for it.
Yeah, it's specifically, I think it was 2 device limit, which would cause a real problem for me.
Yes, and I certainly can see that being a problem for a lot of people.
I mean, previously, when I used Evernote all the time, I still use Evernote. I've still got a lot of notes in there. It's the first app. Well, now it's OneNote, but it's the second app. But it's the second app that I would install on any new device, because I've got a lot of information in there. But what I have done is I've used the import tool from OneNote. So OneNote imports all the Evernote stuff, and it's not brilliant, but it's there in case you need it. And with this new device restriction, I guess that's the way to go. But yeah, it's interesting how these things have turned around. I mean, a few years ago I was using Dropbox and Evernote, and now I'm using OneNote and OneDrive, but without being restricted to only using it on Microsoft products, which is what's really good. And that's I've got it running on Android, and it's absolutely fine. So Evernote, there's an Evernote extension in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so they had at least that at the same time announcing all these restrictions. So I don't know if that accounts as one of your Evernote devices if you have it on your desktop. Probably does.
Yes, I guess it does. Yeah, because you've got to install the client somehow, unless it's just purely cloud based.
Yeah.
So that was the main change, I think, isn't it? The other change in that build as well, it fixed the Miracast app, the Connect app, which previously didn't work. It was called out in the release notes as not working in the previous build, but it wasn't mentioned as working. But I tested it, and it works fine now.
Yeah, it does.
So that was 14383, and then I'm pretty sure this is the first time it happened. But over the weekend, it was on a Saturday evening, 14385 was released.
Yes.
And it's got to be that is the first weekend release we've had.
I think it's the first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the first weekend release.
Yeah. So I think the main fix on this was the pop-up notification, wasn't it, saying that Windows was expiring?
Yeah, which is probably a good thing to have fixed.
Yeah, so that should go on there. But other than that, there was a few fixes. Again, no new features, but we're not expecting new features at this stage now.
No, I'd be very surprised to see any new features now.
Yeah, but this is where they did say about the improved battery life of the Surface as well, and I can't say I've really noticed any difference, but it's kind of thing because I've been using it on and off charge, so it's hard to say, but it's good to see that they call that out particularly. They fixed some auto discovery stuff and LastPass, and ad block extensions are now working better, so good to see. And again, all the latest builds are always PC and mobile in lockstep as well. Yes,
which is really cool.
Yeah,
and they've said that they're releasing everything on the same day, on August 2nd, aren't they? So we're expecting to see even the Xbox get updated at that point.
Yes, and talking of Xbox, and I'm not on the preview ring. Oh, I've got the app installed, but I haven't specifically set it up since the last preview. But I've got Cortana on my Xbox, and said to put it on there, but somehow it's turned up.
All right.
And I believe this happened to a couple of people, so that's already rolling out now.
Yeah.
So it says that it comes up with saying say hey Cortana, and
You do realise that everybody's computer box has just
yes,
gone
I should have said that. I'm still not 100% convinced that that's the right thing for the Xbox.
Yeah, I think as I said a few weeks back, it's all going to depend if they can get the context awareness working properly. But at the moment, it seems very clunky.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go and check and make sure what build I'm on. But I'm pretty sure it hasn't done the big update. This has just come down as an app preview. And talking of app preview as well, do you notice that? I think Jason highlighted this as well. That we mentioned it last week. I think the movies and TV app is the Windows 10 version now.
Yes, yeah.
And the Groove Music app is also going to be the Windows 10 version.
Soonish.
Yeah, which will be quite a change because the Xbox version was the reworked Xbox music app.
Yeah.
Which was quite different. So I'm quite happy to see the Windows 10 version. I think it's a very good client with the Your Groove stuff. I don't know what they're going to do about the video stuff though.
Yeah, the video stuff on the Xbox was very well designed for use with the Kinect and things like that, and this may not be.
Because the nice thing if you've got a Music Pass is you get the videos.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening to a song that's got the videos available, you get that up on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yes, and whether that would actually happen in.
Yeah, whether is that functionality going to disappear, which would be a shame because I actually quite like that.
Yeah,
especially if you've got
I was
people
hoping they
around.
would actually bring that to the Groove Music app generally and have that as part of the Now Playing experience. That would have been very cool. But
yeah, very good. I'll come back to Groove as well, but yeah, that'd be really good. So yeah, we have 14385, and we're expecting. Now I've seen conflicting things. 14388 or 89 is people mentioning. So I don't know what the actual build we'll get tonight, on whether or today or over the next couple of days anyway. Whether that will be the final build or whether we'll get a couple more before we hit release. You never know.
Yeah, it's definitely worth keeping an eye out there and see what they actually do with that, because so as I think Jason will get that on the preview program fairly quickly, so maybe ask him to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, it would be a shame if we lose that video player.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. Would be indeed. So, but I'm looking forward to the having the Groove experience on the Xbox. That should be fun for those people who've got Xbox Ones.
Yeah.
So those people who've got Xbox Ones and want to look up that, they could actually have a read of our book, couldn't they?
Oh yes, they could. Yes, there's a really good section on Xbox.
Yeah,
and using Groove Music on Xbox.
Yep. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Talking to Groove Music, I've been thinking about this for a while. I've managed to get the post up today. We've talked about this quite often, but it's the first time I got the chance to get the post up. I've been playing some more with Android and music apps, and really after trying to persevere with Groove, I've come to the conclusion really it's not usable on Android, and that is a big problem for Groove, considering it's already the music service that people don't really talk about.
Yes. They I mean, it's odd actually, because it's the odd one out in the Microsoft ecosystem about apps, really.
I thought that's exactly what I think. Yeah,
because most of the other apps have been well written for Android and iOS, probably not quite so well written for Windows Phone, whereas the Groove app is brilliant on Windows Phone and, as you say, dismal on Android. I'm hoping that might change.
Yeah, and if not, then I think it means that Groove is not a serious contender, or Microsoft aren't trying to position it as a serious contender, because most people, I know I'm generalizing, but most people listen to music on the phones, and Groove is a great experience on Windows 10 mobile. No problems with that, and it's great on the PC as well, and it works great on a Surface, on a tablet. Soon will be the Xbox, works on HoloLens. It's a great experience.
Yeah.
But then you come to your phone, and I tried to listen to it in the car, and it's asking you to sign in all the time. Yeah. And I do remember this from when we were doing the book, actually, that it didn't seem as polished an experience, but that's sort of 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And in that time, the PC version and the mobile version, the Windows 10 mobile version, have really come on. And I think the iOS version hasn't been touched for a year. It hasn't had an app update for a year, which is part of the problem. And there's Your Groove, which is the new section of playlist, which I think is really good. That's not available. There's no Explore section. It really hates working offline, which sometimes you have to do when you're in, your mobile. And the nice thing about the PC version and the Windows 10 mobile version is you can have your offline catalog and it works fine when it's offline, and then when you're online, you've got the full version. But they've got to do it, because I think most, I don't know the exact numbers, but I guess that the most common combination of Windows 10 and phone will be Android and Windows 10 PC and Android phone, probably. That's probably the biggest vector, isn't it? Maybe.
Yeah.
If not iOS and Windows 10. The Windows 10 and Windows 10 mobile is probably the smallest
vector. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and like you said, it's out of step with the other things. I mean, we talked about the Microsoft Health app. It's identical on all three platforms.
Yeah.
OneNote works great on Android. Works great on the iOS. Office. They're all really good, solid, reliable apps, and in some, and like you said, in many cases, they're actually a better than the Windows 10 version, and in some cases, they're not even available on Windows 10.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this is just because they were getting all the resources have been going to getting this version tied up with the anniversary update, because I think the Your Groove thing is all still for insiders, isn't it? It's not on general release yet.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that these things will all tie to, they'll finish off, and then that's the next focus then, the next release. But at some point I'm gonna have to, I'm running the two services, Google Play Music and Groove, and I don't want to run two, and I want to run one. And I've got all my music stored in OneDrive, so it's a perfect service for me. But how long I can sort of persevere with it, I don't know. So I think something needs to happen. Either they need to forget Groove altogether, or they really need to get the Android and iOS version. But the iOS version on an iPad Pro is horrible. It's a tiny little window.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that would use it.
Yes. Yeah. It's a very, I know. I mean, I hope that the Xamarin acquisition is going to lead them to actually convert it over so they can actually do some UI in the Xamarin side of things. I mean, I don't know if the individual apps are individually written for each of the operating systems at the moment.
Yeah, the iOS and Android versions look identical. So maybe, I mean, they're effectively just the Xbox Music apps rebranded.
Yeah, so I don't know how they were written originally,
No.
but I guess I know the Groove actually uses an awful lot of Windows. It was sort of like the poster child for UWP development. So I can see why that's not perhaps gone the Xamarin route at the moment, but maybe it needs to.
Yeah, even just some of the functionality would be good.
Yeah.
But the difficulty is if you're competing against Google Play Music or Apple Music, it's or Spotify. They're already very advanced competitive systems, and it's so cutthroat, isn't it? And I guess, and once you're in a system, once you pitch in and say, right, okay, I'm going to go with Google Play Music, or I'm going to go with Spotify, and you get your playlists and your offline playback files, and you do all that, you're not really keen to switch over. So to get people back again would be hard work.
Yeah.
So that was a bit negative, but a positive, a very good, nice positive for over the weekend was we've now got an official Formula One lap for Windows 10.
Yeah, that looks really good. I mean, it's how would you say? Because you're the expert on this. Is that something you'd actually use?
Absolutely, yeah. I had this has been available on iOS for 4 years, something like that.
Yeah. On
Android for maybe 3. And I absolutely used it all the time. Now that, as you would expect from Formula One, there's a free version, but there's a catch. So the free version gives you some basic information like lap times and sector. I mean, I don't want to go too much into Formula. Anybody like me that follows it, you want actually like to know the sector times. So the track is split into, especially say qualifying, the track is split into 3 parts, and you can see each time. On the free version, when you just get a lap time and a color indicator to say whether it's the fastest sector time or not. When you've got the paid version, you get the actual sector times and you get some tire information. And a couple of years ago, I did subscribe to it, but I just found because it was iOS only, it was a bit of I had to get my iPad there all the time, and so I sort of let that lapse because it was quite expensive. It was about 30 or 40 quid for a year. But the basic version is quite good, and it's always a bit frustrated that there wasn't a version for Windows, but now there is. They had a browser-based version which used to use Java and was actually quite. I hated running Java. It used to take 10 minutes to get it running at the start of a race, to get the Java thing running. But it actually was very good. Then they went on to a new version, which is a bit more basic, but the iOS and Android versions were pretty good. Anyway, this is a match for those versions. It's essentially the same app, so it's definitely a cross-platform. It looks the same. And over the weekend, it was a British Grand Prix, and I had the app open on my Android phone and on the Windows 10 mobile, and they were both updated at the same time. No real time, the real time data was there. All the information was the same. It didn't crash. Previously, they have had problems with the app crashing on other platforms, and it was rock solid. But the really nice thing with being UWP is you can, I've got it on the Surface and I've got it on the phone, and it scales to the right screen size. So a real, I think a really important that something like that case. Now, as I said, it solves the app gap. But I was kind of joking, but it goes back to what we've said in the past, isn't it? The app gap isn't the number of apps that are available; it's the one that's missing for you.
Yeah, and for you, that was the one which was missing.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the ones that's missing. But not only that, I really like running it on the Surface, and it's never been available. It's not. It's been available on the phone, and I've got a phone here, but now I've got it up on the Surface. It works great, and I haven't priced up what the in-app purchases are, but I think you actually do it with a season pass, external to the store, and I think then, so if you buy it for Android, you can effectively sign in on the Windows one with your account and not have to pay for it again. Which, if that's the case, that's actually pretty good. And then, but it's definitely really good. And I say it's one of those app gap ones. They're not all there. I mean, for example, the live timing app for Le Mans, there's no Windows version. But this is a pretty high profile one, and it's really good to see, and the design and everything else that's there. And there seem to be plenty of people downloading it as well. Which is a really good sign.
Well, it makes sense because it is a more of a tablet-y type based product, isn't it?
Absolutely,
so all those people out there with Surfaces, it's a good thing to add on.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's say it runs on all different devices, and you get qualifying, practice, and everything else. And you can even, if you pay for it, you can get live commentary and things like that. So a decent app and a really good addition to the platform.
Good.
So that was a definite positive.
And a bit unexpected as well, I think.
There was no rumours of it at all.
Yeah.
And it launched on the Friday time for Silverstone. So Formula One Management is a UK-based company.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why. Actually, talking of that, I did read an interesting crossover of the Where Worlds Collide story today by a Formula One journalist. I'll try and remember to include a link in the show notes. He was reporting that there's a lot of due diligence going on at Formula One Management. And I know this sounds like I'm talking totally off topic, but it'll get there. So there's been lots of stories about Formula One Management which is owned by CVC, which people might have heard the name Bernie Eccleston. Bernie sold it. I think he sold it about 4 times now and still managed to keep selling it on. He's doing very well out of it. But this CV Capital Partnership owns the rights and to Formula One Management, and effectively, so that's where the money is. That's where the billions are, and it's worth billions. and there's reports that they're ready to move out. You know, they've made their money, they're going to sell it on. And the journalist, it's Joe Sayward, who's a respected Formula One journalist, said that Apple are one of the buyers, or a potential buyer, that is doing the due diligence.
Like, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and he's coming. He's not a tech journalist in any way, so you know he's coming from this totally from the motor racing side. But he was saying that there's numerous reasons why Apple are looking at the Formula One group. One, for one, it makes money.
Yeah.
So it's not maybe not even necessarily a tech purchase. It's just a money making business. But the other thing is with the streaming. You know, it's an ideal. The content that Formula One produces is ideal for showing streaming and Apple TV and mobile streaming and all that kind of mobile apps and all that kind of thing. So it would be a good proposition for that. And of course, there's rumors of them going into the automotive business at some point in the future, and all this would tie together. But it's not something I'd heard of before. And but it's an interesting proposition that a US company like that would go for a European-based sport, but they would effectively be buying the management of the sport and all the technology that goes with it. I mean, they send whatever, you know, the 50, 100 TV trucks go out, you know, roll around the world doing all this live streaming. And I think Tata Communications do provide the backbone for all the real-time data, and there's huge amounts of data that go on. And but it would be a way of the sport going direct to consumers, bypassing TV channels even.
Yes, that's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Might not be good for the Windows 10 app, but
no, it might not be. But interesting that that a tech company would look at something like that, and it just shows you how much money Apple has got, because it's not a cheap proposition by any means.
No, it's not, definitely not. But it would actually probably help them in terms of some of their capital. So yeah, it's a good idea in that respect.
Yeah, so we'll see. But these rumors are always going around. But it's the first time I've read one and sort of seen a tech crossover like that.
Yeah, indeed.
That's caught my eye. Right, what other stories did I want to talk about this week? Yeah, I tell you, we talked about Groove. I forgot to mention that Groove and the Groove team, who do a great job of listening to feedback from users, which is why I think the Windows 10 mobile app is getting better and better. But they're actually asking for feedback about how Groove users manage their music collection by folders.
Yeah, so they're really keen to understand how people actually lay out their folders, and what do they put them in, album folders or artist folders and all that sort of thing, so they can optimize the folder view they're going to put into Groove.
Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, I think I've always just done it by artist and then a subfolder which has got the album, and then including that folder is the tracks. But I think at one stage I was using iTunes, and iTunes doesn't do it like that. It kind of messes up the arc.
Yeah, it does, very much so.
It so create, if there was like an artist combination. I think the example I saw the other day was like Queen and David Bowie, you know, Under Pressure. Yeah. It would create a separate folder called Queen and David Bowie with one track in it.
Yeah.
Rather than, to me, that song should be in the Greatest Hits Volume 1, which should be in the Queen folder.
Yes, yeah. So, but you can kind of see how both work. But yeah.
So I've got this bit of legacy really with all these things, because what's happened is that over the last 10 years, I've used iTunes, Windows Media Player, Groove, Zune. Zune was my go-to software for ripping music.
Yeah.
And now I've uploaded them into OneDrive, so these legacy folders have continued. But I can't say I've ever thought about browsing the music, certainly on the phone, by folder. But obviously, they must have had a lot of feedback for people asking for that.
Yeah, I believe so. It's one of the high feedback items that people want, a folder view, a decent folder view. So, and it's great they're asking the question, because people do hold this. I think they might get lots of different answers and actually find it quite difficult to find the right answer, the most common use. It may have to be a configurable option, but it's good they're asking the question.
Yeah, so I hope this feedback gets incorporated in the new Android version. they will see, and then I'll be able to take the post down then. Right. Anything else I wanted to talk through? Just to mention done a couple of reviews up. Zag Flex Arc Bluetooth headset.
Yep, that looked quite interesting.
Yeah, quite a nice little device. And I think since I posted the review of the little Bluetooth watch. Did you see a little smartwatch? £11.
Yeah.
The ID 107 Bluetooth smartwatch, and it doesn't really compare to sort of Android wear, but for £11 you've got to get notifications and heart rate monitors and fitness.
Yeah, it's pretty. I just thought that looked pretty good. I mean, it compares reasonably well with the Pebble, although obviously the Pebble's got much longer battery life. But yeah, I thought that was certainly interesting.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, these wearables, how they've come down. There must be a standard chip that these Chinese manufacturers can use.
Yeah, I guess so.
For doing this, because they've all got very similar functionality. But you know, a few £100 only a year ago, and now you're getting down to sort of £12 for and the one I tried, the ID 107, it was from a Chinese manufacturer, and they use a VeryFit app, which I guess is a generic or an app that works with this particular chipset. So it's not specific for this band that I was testing, but it's a very feature complete fitness app. It's very much like the Microsoft Health app. It's got a similar set of functionality. So you actually, for £12 and the free app, you actually get quite a bit of functionality that you would get with the band. Okay, it's not as advanced, and the sort of push notifications that just tell you there's a notification rather than, you know, like on Android Wear where you get rich notifications. Yeah, but even so, for £12, you know.
You can't really go wrong with £12 for that.
No. I mean, it's not that long ago with it. We were down at the Gadget Show and we were looking at this stuff, and it was really expensive stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I just going back to your Flex Arc headset review, because I actually looked at that one stage. And how did you find it on comfort?
I thought it was pretty good. I've been trying a couple recently, and I think it is probably the best one because the earpieces pull out of a string effectively. You know, they're on a cord, so you can position the band however you like, really. So I think that was the best. I tried one, a Clotech one that was a bit cheaper. It was like a £15 one, and that was the band kind of digging your head a little bit because it was the flexibility of the band that kept it, the elasticity of the plastic that kept the earpieces in. So that was kind of crushing your head a little bit to keep it in place, because if they made it any slack, it would fall off. But with these are on a cord. I didn't find it too bad. Come back.
I'm back.
Yes.
God, that's really weird. It just goes warbly and then it disappears and you come back. It's something odd going on Skype tonight. Anyway, I was just saying, what Bluetooth standards is it using the CSR based audio stuff, or was it just standard Bluetooth audio?
It was standard Bluetooth audio. It's got a little onboard speaker as well. I don't know why you'd want to use that, but you could do. But you could take calls on it, and so you can use it for phone telephony as well.
Excellent.
And I tested it with the Lumia and the Nexus, and it worked quite well. And what I did find was it was really good volume, but you were really isolated with it, which is actually good in some respects. You know, you could wear it on a plane, and and they're not noise cancelling, but they really do isolate the sound. I think it's the earbud design. But also I found it a little bit unnerving as I was walking around with it on, because I felt, you know, very isolated.
Yeah, almost too isolated.
Now, I don't know whether that's just me, because I'm used to wearing the sort of the Apple type earbuds. You know, I use them if I'm out and about. I do see people walking around. I think it's probably an age thing, but you do see people walking around with big headsets on, don't you? A bit like these ones I'm wearing now to do the podcast. But I wouldn't like to wear these walking around streets of Manchester, because I feel totally isolated to what's going on. But that's just me.
No, it makes sense to me as well. You want some ability to hear what's going on around you. Well, some people do anyway.
Yeah, but I think if you're on a plane or something, then and you really want to switch off, I think that they're actually pretty good for that. I'll have to try doing the podcast with them and see because to be honest, I had them on sort of for half an hour here, half an hour there, 10 minutes here, not for any length of time. But I found them pretty comfortable and quite nice packaged as well.
Mm.
So, yeah. So, what have you been reviewing on Fascinating Tech recently?
So we've got the see if I could actually pronounce this. So we've got a whole range of health and fitness stuff from a French company who are well known in France for their scales and everything like that, but possibly not so well known in the UK. And I'm trying to bring it up on screen so I can pronounce it properly because I'm not very good at it. It's Tarayon.
Right.
It's spelled Terailon. But basically, they produce a set of scales for your bathroom, kitchen scales, which have also got the ability to link over Bluetooth as well. So you get the kitchen scales, you get the scales problem, they've got a fitness tracker, and they've got a blood pressure monitor, and all of these linked to one app.
Right.
And the hardware is brilliant, really, really good, and I'm really, really impressed with that. There's some issues with the app which they're working on. And I think that's probably because they're just coming into the UK market, and things like pounds and stones are not familiar to French developers. But they're certainly making progress on that. But it's nice that you can actually sort of these kitchen scales. You can scan the barcode of the say you've got a Kit Kat or something like that. You scan it, and then you put it on the scales. It weighs it and tells you how much your calories of it is.
Right.
So you've got, and we have foods as well. The limit, there are limits at the moment on the list, which is there, and there's a lot of French stuff on there. It was weird. I scanned Marmite, and it came out up in French, as used to stress. But it's I think the potential is brilliant, and the fact it's a really fully integrated system is good. So that's going to be in our next issue. And we've also got a whole set of this to give away as a prize. So our competition this year, this one is probably worth a couple £100. So it's worth signing up for that.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll make sure I include a link then. So
yeah, so that'll be out in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting. I've got some other reviews going on as well. Some of the colleagues are reviewing some long-term review stuff, and hopefully they'll all come in. And as soon as that comes up, I'll be putting the issue up.
Excellent stuff. I've got my video of the Arlo Netgear camera, security camera.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we had our D-Link one I mentioned a couple of months back, and we've also got the Nat Hatmo welcome camera in this issue coming up as well.
Oh yeah, we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. We've got the tags. I think I mentioned we had the interview a couple of weeks back on. We've had the tags come through, and they work as described in the interview. They're very impressive, actually. Slightest vibration on the door they pick up on. It's very, very good.
I'll have to have a look at that. One I've got pending, which probably won't be for a couple of weeks to get. I'm just trying now. Is the Lenovo Mix 700, which
that looked lovely.
Looks just like a Surface, but it's got quite a nice type cover design. It's got like a leather feel to it, so and quite a nice kickstand hinge on the back. I think I reviewed the X1, which had a weird kickstand that came out from the bottom, but this is more like the Surface, where it comes out from the middle. So I was saying to someone on Twitter, I don't think I mentioned it on the show, but I think in some respects the Surface has done its job, hasn't it, and pushed manufacturers to come up with high quality Windows devices now. Yeah,
I mean, a few years back you would never even thought of the sort of Surface types approach, and now it is the main approach, isn't it, for a lot of people?
Absolutely.
Pricing on the 700 seems quite competitive as well.
Yeah. So I've not started reviewing it yet. Just starting to get it set up, but have a look out for that soon as well. Because you played with the Huawei one, didn't you?
I did, yeah, the Huawei.
Sorry, I always say I don't want to say
Huawei.
That's my phone. Is a Huawei.
Huawei. Yeah, Huawei. I like that a lot. That's a really good bit of kit.
Yeah.
Bit pricey perhaps, but a nice bit of kit.
Yeah. So I think that's all time we've got for this week. We should be back with Jason next week. So we I guess we've got 2 weeks of builds, perhaps maybe a week of builds now. So I think we'll definitely have 1 or 2 this week, and maybe 1 or 2 next week.
You do realise my prediction was actually only for the final week.
Yes. Yeah, you're horrendously out, but so was. To be fair, Jason and I were well under on the.
As I say, that's the Donataka factors. It just changes the way they're doing the release. And I think it actually makes a lot of sense. They're pushing out releases now, which they probably wouldn't have pushed out before, to give you a chance to feedback on your bug fixes you've reported. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be back next week, hopefully with Jason as well. 9 p.m. UK time on Tuesday evening in the chat room, or you can find us on the podcast, all the various locations. The podcast is available everywhere. You can go onto our site and get the links to the podcast. And you can follow me on Twitter at ISDixon. We can follow you where, Gary?
At Gary WMA. That's Gary 2 R's on Twitter. And obviously Fascinating Tech as well.
Excellent stuff. So until next Tuesday, I'll speak to you then.
Take care.